Picture this, two guys trapped in the South Charleston Public Library. One guy loves movies, the other, well, he'd rather be watching reality TV. Can they survive each other's films? Find out on Real Opposites, a library podcast about movies. Hosted by Josh and Aaron from the South Charleston Public Library.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Real Opposites. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
And we're back to do our Black Christmas episode. I guess we kind of talked about it and we were going to do different versions of Black Christmas for each other, but we decided to just go ahead and do all three.
Might as well.
Yeah, might as well. Knock them all out. So I think we're going to go ahead and start with the original, 1974. Okay.
Kind of the prototypical slasher of the 70s. It's directed by Bob Clark.
Which did Christmas Story.
Christmas Story.
That was the first thing I noticed when I started watching this movie.
The original Christmas Story. It's Canadian slasher too. So there's not a ton of those, but
right.
They made a great one. So I'll start this off. I'm going to read the back. The Warner Brothers VHS tape. And it was the night before Christmas, and all through the house a creature was stirring. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, but it was hardly St. Nicholas soon to be there. In the college town of Bedford, several unsuspecting people are about to receive season's greetings of terror. Black Christmas is a stark and stylish exercise in suspense that turns everyone's favorite time of year inside out. Olivia Hussey and Margot Kidder stars two among an ill-fated handful of sorority sisters celebrating the season and semester's end when an obscene phone call interrupts the festivities. The caller rings off with a death threat, which proves all too real. Is the killer a brilliant music student who has gotten one of the women pregnant? No one is sure, and no one can stop the deadly calls preceding the attacks. Predating Halloween and Friday the 13th by several years, Black Christmas effectively laid the groundwork for the murder thrillers that would follow through its clever interplay of tension, shocks, and humor. Producer-director Bob Clark earned his reputation as a hit maker for the first two Porky's films, but here works in a vein closer to his highly applauded Sherlock Holmes caper Murder by Decree, exploring the underside of the holiday he had so affectionately and somewhat sardonically celebrated in the jovial A Christmas Story. So have yourself a scary little Black Christmas. It's not at all like the ones you used to know.
I like that. That's a great little back of a VHS.
I mean, they used to write some good stuff.
Right. So like that alone makes you want to watch the movie.
Yeah, because it gives you a good synopsis of the film, but it also gives you some history of the film in film history.
Right, exactly.
How its importance.
Similarly, the backs of books have gotten to be garbage also.
Right.
We're just not good at writing copy anymore. I think it just slaps
anymore,
whatever can go on there.
Oh, sorry. I'm
you're
totally
good.
over talking.
Yeah, well, you're fine. I was going to say, I just think people in general aren't good at writing copy anymore, but that's what happens when you don't pay your writers effectively.
That's what I was going to say. It's like nowadays, if you do get a little meat to want to pull you in, it's the whole thing. It's the trailer that is the whole movie.
Yeah,
it
just spoils everything.
The book that by reading the sleeves, you've read the book kind of thing. But so that sounds, it didn't give you tons of information.
No,
it
just gives you the basic premise, like girls at a sorority house.
Right.
Someone's calling them, terrorizing them.
Yeah.
Someone's dead.
Now, I will say that mentioned that they were getting obscene calls.
Yeah.
And that is one thing I noticed about this movie.
Obscene.
If you think nowadays movies deserve an R rating or anything like that, it wasn't nudity or anything in this movie. Mm-hmm. It was the words. They were obscene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think in this movie it's used appropriately in the sense that because at first I was like, okay, this is a lot. But it was to instill fear in them.
Aaron the prude over here.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, no, it's a lot.
By the podcast, you would think I'm a prude. Outside of the podcast, I'm definitely not.
He is definitely not. To be fair, it is a lot. It's very disturbing and creepy.
Right, but that's the whole point.
The phone calls are. It's not the language of anyone else in the movie, really, but the phone calls are meant
Margot
to
Kidder,
be...
but that's some...
Yeah. Well,
it
talks to the cop. And
yeah.
Yeah, but it's not that. I mean,
no,
she says the word fellatio. It's not that. That's the technical term.
Yeah, fine.
That's an extreme word for a podcast.
It's not.
Okay.
I could just see Aaron getting an obscene phone call and be like, "My lord,
Oh, Lord.
With like a little fan.
yeah."
No, we're not talking about what the, like, I think that was pretty mild in comparison to what is said actually in the phone calls.
But that's what I say, though.
Yeah.
And being the movie prude, because I think I am a prude when it comes to movies, 100%. So being the movie prude that I am, it at first took me aback, but it brings in that fear and that it's just that crudeness that makes it
supposed to be
scarier.
shocking. And those are the kinds of, that's the kind of stuff that like men say when they call to scare girls on the phone.
Exactly.
Like that is not like, that is a phone call that a sorority house would get. And the cops being like kind of blasé-faire about it is
that's
like
normal.
100% like
That still happens about
this is
everything.
the world's least competent police department. Like I don't know what they're doing there, but I did want
Except for John Saxon, he's pretty on the ball.
Yeah.
they got
Everyone
one,
else is kind of
one
he's
cop
kind
that-
of a Barney
I liked
Fife.
him. He was good.
They're just like, whatever. Okay, we should talk, though, in case you haven't seen the movie under this title. What is the other title of the movie?
Of what movie?
Of this movie?
Oh, no, there's
There's another title?
You can't look it up. You got to guess.
What?
Murder Christmas?
No.
Heavy breathing Christmas?
No.
What is
It's
it?
Silent Night, Evil Night. Silent Night, Evil Night was the original title on the
I
VHS
like it
cover of
better.
this film, but they changed it to Black Christmas.
But so
eventually.
the crudeness and all of that, the obscene, like I said, I think it was necessary. They did it correctly. It was good. The one thing that did bother me a little bit, this is a point of view thriller or
it's kind of-
horror movie, which I kind of liked. Is it one of the first?
It's
I'm
one
assuming
of the. It's one of the first.
the very first is Psycho. Is that correct with the shower scene?
Yeah, I mean technically, yeah. I mean that's like a locked off,
Right.
where you're seeing what he's seeing when he's looking through the peephole.
Right.
But this is one of the first instances, if not the first instance, of like in a.
Full on.
I mean this one and Halloween combined really created so many of the stereotypes in the slasher genre.
Yeah.
John Carpenter has said like he was influenced by the POV shot.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't like how shaky it was, so his is very. He uses the Panaglide, which is very smooth
Right.
and floaty. You know,
I get the
But it's-
shakiness too in this
makes
because
sense.
it does make sense.
I mean,
now, I will tell you one thing that got on my nerves was the breathing because some of it was like, it wasn't even that. It was like almost like they were snoring at times. It was snorting and stuff. It was like heavy, like, and some of that was too much for me. But I did like the point of view, and I could see how that would have
Yeah.
inspired him in Halloween.
yeah. I mean, he liked that idea. I mean, the Halloween's a very different movie, both
Oh, for sure.
just appearances and just the story. But I for a while wasn't the biggest fan of this one,
Mhm.
but it's really grown on me every time I rewatch it. And this time was a lot of fun because it's like, there's just very few of them that are made that are very good anymore
Yeah.
as far as slashers go. Thanksgiving's awesome. Everyone should see that. But
Yes, I do need to see that.
I love how there's like hardly any. For one thing, there's there's a lot of language, but there's hardly any blood. There's hardly
Right.
any gore. It's very similar to Halloween in that way.
Yeah, it is.
And it's really built on not so much like suspense because I mean it kind of kept reminding me of what Hitchcock would say is like if you put a bomb on her table and the audience doesn't know, no one knows, and you just have the table explode when they sit down.
Right.
But if you have put a bomb under the table, have the two people sit down, but you show the audience that the bomb is there, immediate suspense.
Right.
So this is kind of like
Irony.
he's the bomb in the house.
Exactly.
Like we know he's there. We know what's going on up in that attic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know. So it immediately throughout the whole movie, there's just a constant tension
Yeah.
of what he's going to do next. And,
Yeah, one of my favorite things, probably one of my favorite deaths anyways, just because, I don't know, I enjoyed it. But I think it was the tension was when the older lady, I forget her name,
Oh,
The
yeah.
house
When
mom.
she goes,
when she's up in
She's
the attic and
awesome, too.
you see him. Yeah, she is. If that's not my spirit animal, I don't know what is. She's looking up in the attic and he has that hook,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
a hook, and he's just holding it, and you see her, and then in the background you see the hook, like what's
You know what's
coming.
gonna happen.
and you know that she doesn't know it, and it doesn't show it.
No, you just see the
You see her
aftermath
legs
like
a little
later
bit.
on.
Yeah, but it's still done to the right. It
puts
gets
an
your brain
image
there.
in your mind.
Exactly. And
Like-
sometimes that's the thing. Leaving the image up to the viewer, you get to picture it how you want to picture it, but you know what happened.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it gives the impression of it, but you like what you can imagine is worse than
Right.
what they're gonna show you.
That feeling of knowing more than the characters know. I mean, that's the definition of dramatic irony.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like people use the phrase irony wrong all the time. Like dramatic irony is when the audience knows something that the characters don't know,
Yeah.
and it therefore ups the audience's enjoyment of the piece. And that's what this is. I do like you guys were saying, that deaths happen off screen for a large portion of the, like they don't show, they just let you put it there.
Yeah.
And I
think,
like that.
I think sometimes that also allows them to, I'm sure, one, help their budget. Two, it also avoids the fact, like this movie, it doesn't make it such a period piece in the fact that it's old effects.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's no effects to be had.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes Psycho still kind of timeless.
Right.
Is you don't really. I mean, there's not really. I mean, there's a little bit of blood, but you don't really see any gore effects.
Right. And there's nothing to look like, oh man, it just looks bad
yeah.
now.
I mean, you just look at some CG horror flick. And,
Yeah.
2 years later, it kind of looks like what is this?
Yeah.
Whereas, if you're not even showing it, if you're just implying the violence, then it gives it a timeless quality.
Right.
But even if you do makeup effects,
You do. You said you
I know. I know. As soon as I said it, I knew.
I was trying my best not to say it.
Even if you create normal makeup effects, like with prosthetics, it still is going to last longer than
Yeah. CG,
CG.
or anything. That's for
But-
sure.
So I went to see Thanksgiving a few days before I watched this again.
no spoilers.
No, no spoilers. But I mean, just the feeling of, even though that movie's set in the modern day, like how well they captured a similar feeling to Black
Right.
Christmas. Or, I mean, any kind of slasher, a good slasher from the 70s and 80s. There's just like it really is kind of timeless. I mean, the movie's 50 years old next year.
Yeah, that's wild.
And I think it holds up really brilliantly. The cast is really good, I think.
Yeah.
I love Olivia Hussey. She's terrific. Margot
Yeah.
Kidder's a lot of fun. She's, just pretty much just hammered the whole time. And
Yeah. That's the one.
Berating
That's
everyone.
my spirit animal, right?
no, yours
Is that
is
the one?
I thought yours was the
Whatever,
the
the
house
old
mom,
lady.
the house mother.
Yeah.
Mrs.
her.
Mack.
She's the one that's like digging for their
She's the one that's
hidden
got.
alcohol.
She's got alcohol. She's got bottles hidden everywhere. She's got them hidden in books and
Spirit
cabinets.
animal.
And, yeah, she's awesome. She's just
Yeah,
fun.
I loved
I
her.
could watch a movie of her
About
just,
her?
just going through the house,
Yeah.
like dealing with these kids and getting herself hammered.
I can't be responsible for the morality of all these girls.
Yeah, I like that. And I mean, and it is kind of like you can see where he would later do like stuff like Porky's, because there's like her with the awkward kind of comedic moments with the dad who's looking for his daughter.
Right.
He's, even though that's very like I like him in that role. Because by the end, like you really are feeling for him. Like he's just like he doesn't know where his daughter is.
Yeah, I felt like he was a good actor in that sense, in the fact that even without speaking, you felt his pain.
Yeah, just his like he's not eating the dinner,
Right.
and he's just I don't know. You can
I thought that was conveyed really well through that.
yeah. So there's like comedic moments, but there's always this undercurrent of immediacy to what's going on.
Yeah.
And just I mean just the images are really brilliant. Like the POV shots, the image of her. With the plastic wrapped around her face,
Yeah.
and it's like sucked in,
And especially through the window.
yeah,
I
through
like
the window, and the plastic, like she sucked it into her
Yeah.
mouth, like it's
was
just
trying
a
to
great
breathe.
image.
That. Right.
I love that's on the VHS cover. That's like the poster.
Oh, okay. I mean, like you said, I think I did like this. I do think it's something that I would like more the more I watch it. I mean, some of that could also be because I just wasn't in the mood to watch 2 movies last night.
Yeah.
So
The same movie
yeah.
for us.
So that could be part of it, but I do think it was done well. I like the point of view shots like you were talking about. The suspense was done well, like I was talking about with the deaths. Unless I missed something, which is possible, I did feel like you don't really understand why the person's doing it.
Yeah, that's what I like. I like that about it.
I do, but I think if I had a little more hint as to why, then I would like it a little more.
Yeah.
Because he does say things, and you're like, it's like you're left out of the loop on that, though.
Yeah.
You
and
don't really know.
I mean, you could definitely see like that kind of influence on Carpenter too with Michael.
Yeah.
Even though he gives him like a little bit more backstory, like he just went nuts and killed his sister.
Right.
And you never really see him either in this movie.
Right, you don't.
Like he's always in shadows.
It's just
you
like his
see,
eye.
You see
which
like a
is
silhouette.
creepy as well.
Yeah, you see like a silhouette in his eye.
Yeah.
But when we go to the other ones and they talk way too much about the backstory and all this other crap. I don't know. It's refreshing to just be like, no, then if he has no real motivation that we're aware of, then he is just like
a murderer.
I don't know, like the id living in the attic. Like
Right, that's true too.
This beast.
I think for me, it was just like
he's something more than just a guy killing.
Right.
I think knowing less also puts you more in the mind of like the victims.
Yeah, 'cause
like,
they don't know.
like
That's
not
true.
understanding like why this
I guess
is
that's
happening
true,
to
yeah.
you, and like why is this person doing this,
Saying Agnes and things like
like
that.
you know, violence when a lot of times is not random. Like it's usually someone you know, but when it's a serial murderer, typically that's pretty random. It's just
that's true.
someone has lost their mind, and so it's like that. This kind of, I think that's we'll talk about it when we talk about the other movies. But yes, I think that's one of the things that makes this have a magic the other movies don't. Is not explaining like his motivation, because when you're the one experiencing that kind of violence, you don't get it like.
You don't get an
You don't
explanation.
get an
Right,
explanation.
exactly. Right,
There
that's
is no
true.
why that makes sense.
That is true.
Like, even if it's like, oh, he had a horrible childhood. Okay. Like,
Right.
you still don't go
doesn't
murder
mean-
a
yeah,
house
doesn't
full of
mean you go-
sorority
Right.
girls.
That's true.
Like, you know?
So, was this one of the first like horror Christmas movies, or were there a lot before this? Do you know?
It was probably real early. I mean,
it's real early.
I kind of figured it was one of the earlier ones.
because pre like this, so this and Texas Chainsaw came out the same year.
Okay.
So it's kind of a seminal year between those two movies. Like they really created the slasher genre.
Mhm.
But it didn't really take off until Halloween and Friday the 13th.
there were others, but not that hit the way that this hit.
I mean,
This
you
was
had
probably
like,
the first
I don't know
one.
if you call Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. I mean, horror before this was like a lot of like you had creature features,
Right.
even pre-Jaws. You had, like the kind of you had Hammer horrors like Dracula's
Blob.
and the Blob, the original one, and
Appar-
Psycho. Psycho was like there was a lot of Italian giallo films. So if you were looking for something like this, a lot of that was going to be over in Europe.
Right.
Apparently, whoever slew Auntie Roo in 1971 was the UK produced first Christmas themed horror movie.
Okay.
So, I mean, this was kind of a first of its kind in a way,
Yeah.
and it was also a first of its kind as far as starting the slashers. Although we really, like you said, they didn't pick up till later. But
Yeah.
I think this is a great example of a great slasher.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, this was clearly inspired by like a Mario Bava or less explicit.
Yeah.
But it's clearly inspired by Italian giallos, I think.
here's the countdown kind of before this. So it's that, and then Tales from the Crypt in 1972
Oh, yeah,
was the
yeah.
first
Oh,
film
yeah.
to feature a killer in
Those
a
are a lot of
Santa
fun.
outfit.
I know. I like
And
those.
then Silent Night, Bloody Night in 1972 was the first theatrical Christmas horror film made in the U.S. And so that's why this was Silent Night, Evil Night, and then changed to Black Christmas as soon as it released. Basically, it released under that title, and then the next theatrical run, it was like
Black Christmas.
Black
Oh,
Christmas.
okay.
Good call.
Yeah, definitely. a good call.
Much better, because then 10 years later you have Silent Night, Deadly Night,
Deadly
which
Night,
is so
And I mean, this one really kind of started like the holiday theme
Yeah.
horror.
Exactly.
Um,
And it's just, I think like I said, I think it's one I'll probably watch again because I do think it's something I would enjoy and might put in, because I'm weird and I might put it in my Christmas rotation
yeah,
for sure.
I mean, I think I appreciate the movie more and more. And I probably saw it the first time 20 some years ago,
Right.
and I appreciate it more and more every time I watch it. And this was the most fun I had watching it.
Yeah.
And how like it is. I mean, speaking to its timeless qualities, it still is kind of timely and timeless.
Yeah.
With what Peter, the guy who got pregnant.
girl. Yeah.
Jess, and like he's pressuring her to not, you know, like he,
Yeah.
you know, it's like that still feels very like,
Oh, yeah. Relevant.
this still happens.
I will say the one thing that made it time, what's the opposite of timeless? Timed?
That made
Timed.
it
Period
locked
piece.
it into a certain
Yeah.
period.
Is that when she was on the phone and it was fuzzy, she was talking to the operator. She was like, operator, I can't hear, operator. But I loved that, though.
No,
because it also, like, thinking about it, and you know, you're receiving these creepy calls back then, but you're also having to go through an operator. Like, I think that adds another kind of suspense to it. In
does.
itself.
Well, I mean, any kind of horror that's a period film or like a pre-digital era, it's inherently going to have more suspense because you can't just dial 911 from your phone in your pocket. You can't just Google this or Google that.
Right.
You have to, like, there's more work involved for you to survive.
Right.
If I were making a horror movie, there's no way in hell I would have it set in a 2010, post-2010 world.
Now you have to like find a way to get rid of the cell phones.
Yeah, and
and
it just-
I mean, I think that's the best thing. If you want a modern one, then make it so that they don't have service. Like,
you put it
there's
out
a
in the-
reason they don't have service.
You put it out in the desert or in
Right.
some, like, remote place.
Yeah, during a storm or something like that.
or if
Like
you-
with Bodies.
Yeah.
They had that big storm. They didn't have, I mean, they could use their cell phones for flashlight, but they didn't have text or anything. That's how they didn't know the ending.
see
No, I
here's
like that.
here's the thing though is I think that there's like a moment with that though that like kind of takes you out of it because it's like, oh, we know this trope of getting rid
Yeah.
of the phones is
Like,
coming.
they have to write that into the
They have
script.
to
that we
write
all-
it
Right.
in,
Well, we
and-
have to have the electric go out, or we have to have their service not work. or
Right.
we
And
have
I
to-
get that, but sometimes it's neat to see a modern day one and be it for
I mean,
now it can put you into it in the fact that, oh man, if I was in that situation,
Yeah.
then you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and I mean, like, a similar thing like they would have done in the 80s would have been like, oh, he cut the phone lines.
Exactly.
Or he cut the electric.
I mean, it's
or-
definitely been
I mean,
done
that
prior
happens
to.
in, I don't
Yeah.
know, most
old movies,
horror,
too. Right.
action movies, any kind of like where a house is under siege.
Yeah, but I think you have to have a good reason, and I mean, this we'll talk about a little bit more, and I think with the 2019, I have some ideas about cell phones with that, but yeah, I mean, there has to be a good reason, but I just thought that even though it timed the piece, I do think it added some suspense because
Absolutely.
you putting yourself in their shoes, you know, you're having to go through an operator, and if you can't hear the operator and they can't hear you, like, you're done for.
And it's a dial phone.
Right.
So you have to go.
It takes time. Right. It wasn't just a simple click of a button.
There's no quick.
But that all does lead into, I mean, you know, if you were being attacked in the 1970s, like, that's what you would have had to gone through.
Yeah.
So I did like it.
How many lives have been lost by the dial? Like,
Yeah, right.
Like,
You are almost like one number
almost,
away.
almost off, and then
Right.
your throat slit or something.
Oh man. But yeah, I think it was a great example of a good slasher.
And I like all the girls in the movie are very believable.
Oh yeah.
I think they all do. Like, they come across very naturalistic.
And they gave him good personalities, different personalities.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In the sense that, you know, the characters are who they are, and like you said, it's believable.
And there is this, like, you know, kind of squabbling between a couple of them, and like, not, you know, they don't all get along
right,
perfectly,
which is how it should be.
yeah. I mean, you live in a house with however many people.
Yeah,
Like
that's going to happen.
real world.
Right.
But yeah, like all of them. I mean, John Saxon's always great. I'm a fan of his. His hairpiece should have got a credit. But yeah, I mean, Olivia Hussey's terrific. And I really like Keir Dullea. I think that's how you pronounce it. He was in 2001 as well, which I forgot he was in this, and I watched it again.
Yeah.
I think he does. I mean, you could see he does a good job playing that, like, because he's the
Suspect.
supposed, you know, culprit.
Yeah.
I think he plays it really well. That you could look at it both ways,
Right.
like that he could be the killer, but maybe he's just a
Right.
a-hole boyfriend kind of guy.
Yeah. A funny thing, he actually only worked for a week on the film.
Really,
And
he's in the film a lot more than I remember.
yeah, but he only did it for a week, and he'd never met Margaret Kidder, Lynn Griffin, Art Hindle, or Marianne Waldman.
Really.
And barely meeting John Saxon and Andrea Martin.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all of his scenes are really with Olivia Hussey.
Yeah, but it says that the film is carefully edited in such a way that he appears to be present throughout.
Yeah,
the whole
he does. I
movie.
mean, that's seamless.
Yeah,
Well done. Yeah, I mean the movie's low budget, which I mean explains why they don't have makeup effects.
Right.
But I think it's like the shark not working in Jaws. At the end of the day, it forces you to be more creative,
Right.
to not just give it all away
Yeah.
up front.
And see, going back to what I was talking about with, it's not like there was tons of nudity, but it was still obscene in a way. I like this. It says a strict rule that Clark had set for himself when it came to writing the female characters was to never objectify them sexually or give them nude scenes. He wanted the college girls to come off as real people, which I think he succeeded.
Yeah.
And not disposable horror characters waiting to die.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I agree with that. I think it definitely was that. And he was able to pull that off.
They don't feel like slabs of meat ready for the chopping block.
Right.
I
I also saw that it was, I guess the original title of the script was Stop Me. And then Bob Clark came up with Black Christmas.
Good call again.
Yeah, he said it like the irony of something dark occurring during such a festive holiday. The title is also a tongue-in-cheek reference to the Christmas song White Christmas.
I like that they played on like the classic, the calls are coming from inside the house, but not in a super obvious way.
So this,
Like-
from what I read, this is actually the first film to do that.
Yeah. There was
There's an urban legend. I think the urban
Right, yeah,
legend
no.
has
Yeah.
existed
But it was
before
the first
then,
film
yeah.
to actually use the call coming from inside the house is what I
Yeah.
saw in
Yeah,
some of my
they-
research.
Yeah, they did that a lot after. I think if I remember, When a Stranger Calls, they also used it in that, which is a good movie.
Girl-
I think it was 1981. But yeah, it's definitely started that trope.
Yeah. I like that you got it wrong. Like it's coming, like it's not just
And it's a good
coming
reveal.
from inside the house. It's like, we know it's inside the house, but
Yeah.
like it is a good, that's what I like about this is like everything that the characters discover, like
just-
it's not Peter.
I like the little behind the scenes too, like
Yeah.
the labor they show.
Yeah.
It just in tracing the phone call.
Yeah.
Like you see the guy
Right.
running through at the phone place.
Right, to try to figure it out.
Track the call. And I don't know, just the more you see and understand,
I think
like
it
giving
adds.
the audience more knowledge in this in instances is rarely a negative in a film.
Well, like
True.
I think the thing that like if you're paying attention that it's not Peter. Because
Yeah.
he's standing there when the guy calls at one
we
point in
know
time.
it's not Peter.
We know it's not Peter. And so we just know they're wasting time, like
Right.
kind of tracing that kind of thing. Or like that, where we know it's in the house. So you know what the outcome of tracing the call is going to be. And they're spending all this time trying to do it instead of like searching the house. Or
Yeah.
if you know that these girls are missing or being preyed upon, why have you not looked through the whole house?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
why didn't you go up to the attic and check it out? Again, we're least competent police
Yeah.
department on the
But
place.
that's another example of what I was saying. Like, yeah, that also stuck it in a time period, but it did it in a way that it builds the suspense and also puts you in their shoes more.
Yeah, it
if
does.
you were being chased in the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, the way I like to watch older films is like I'm not looking at it through
Current eyes.
current eyes because it's. I mean,
You're not.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not. I mean, wasn't made in 2023. It was made in 1974, and so you just like have to look at it as like a time capsule of
Yeah.
what was going on at that time. And in that way, I mean, that's why film is so important because you can look at see what was happening. What was even in horror film. I mean, usually in genre films, you can explore more timely themes, like things
Right.
that are going on in society at that moment, in a more indirect way than like if you had just an overt like drama.
Right.
Because it gives you more freedom to kind of like either be more satirical about it
Mhm.
or just talk more blatantly without it like really dramatizing it.
Right. And that's what I say. Like, yeah, it shows the time, but it builds the suspense at the same time. It was just done in a way that it still holds up because, hey, you're looking through the eyes of 70s. And it's just like in Scream, one of the big things that makes Billy the lead suspect is he drops a cell phone.
Yeah.
And like, they're like, well, why do you have a cell phone? And
Yeah.
you had to put yourself in the shoes back then.
And no, yeah,
It would have been a big deal.
No, yeah. Very few people.
So
watch that.
I think if it's done right, it doesn't stick it into time where you can't still watch it and understand it or put yourself in the shoes. And I think this one did it great.
Yeah.
I did read, I thought this was kind of interesting. NBC scheduled this film for its primetime network debut on
wow.
January 28th, 1978, under this title, Stranger in the House. On January 15th, 1978, 2 female students at Florida State University were murdered by an assailant who broke into the sorority house where they lived. 3 other young women in the immediate vicinity were attacked and assaulted. So they got pleas from the locals to pull the movie from broadcast in light of the attacks. They decided to pull the plug on the movie altogether. Instead, the film Doc Savage, Man of Bronze was shown. NBC instead ran Stranger in the House as a late movie on May 14th of the same year. The perpetrator of the crimes at the Florida State University was later identified as Ted Bundy.
Oh.
So Ted Bundy's killings actually kept this from airing for its primetime debut.
Interesting.
And I thought that was really cool.
No, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Which I could see why they would want that pulled, 100%.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Very similar, like down to the high school girl getting murdered in the park just nearby. Like, yeah, again, that's just the whole part in the police department like gets me because it's like the mom comes and she's like, my daughter hasn't come home from school. This isn't normal, and they're just like, whatever. And it's like, my daughter's missing. She's probably off with her boyfriend.
But
whatever.
I mean, honestly, that's
like,
how it still is. Like,
yeah.
you can't report somebody missing.
It has
For
to be
so
24
long.
hours or 48
Yeah.
hours or something.
I think for kids it's less, and
Yeah,
then for
I mean,
adults it's like 48
yeah.
or 72. But that first 48 and 72 hours and a missing, if the
Is the
person's
most
actually
important.
missing, is the most important and the most
yes.
chance of catching them alive. But we still have those settings unless you can convince somebody that it's super true.
Super out of character for them,
Yeah.
and they're like, whatever. Like, that's what it took is her boyfriend showing up and being like, why are you idiots? Like, yeah, like, who was like a townie, I guess.
Yeah.
And being like, I live here, you guys know me, like, that's my girl, and she's
Right.
not with me.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, but I mean, overall, I liked the movie. I thought it was good, and I think like I said, it really. I can see how this was the start of at least the inspiration of a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many tropes that are created here. The holiday, the killer in the house, the POV. And it's also a bit inspired by Hitchcock as well, and how it elevates the suspense. But yeah, I mean, it's what this movie did. Like, Halloween just took it to the next level,
Right.
and made it even more evocative and
Oh, for sure.
like clear the tropes that pretty much every late 70s and 80s slasher film in particular either mimicked or satirized.
Yeah.
Certainly by the time you get to Scream,
Oh, for sure.
or even New Nightmare,
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's kind of cool that, it was this one movie that did all that. And it definitely, I'm glad I've seen it because it has, in my opinion, it's because it is the movie that's kind of inspired all these things. It definitely has its place in film history
Oh yeah,
and is kind of important.
that's very important. I mean, for the horror genre, like this is
Right.
one of the on Mount Everest
Right. Exactly.
horror. And I'm actually like kind of surprised they didn't really mention it in Scream.
Yeah.
Or as seminal as a work as it is.
kind of went
Yeah.
unnoticed, though, for like a
Yeah.
long time after its release.
I don't remember like seeing the video in the video stores I went to.
Yeah.
It's like a
So it made it-
rediscovered classic.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of had like probably some rights issues, maybe.
Probably.
I mean, if you didn't, it's probably one of those that the videos got stolen or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a breakout like Halloween or
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw.
And I think that's probably why. I mean, we'll talk about it, but just the 2006 one, when I watched it, I didn't realize it was a remake until after I'd already seen it. Like, I had never heard of Black Christmas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just one of those I think does fly under the radar, but shouldn't.
No, it shouldn't. I mean, everyone should. I mean, if you love horror movies, you have to see this.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And I think, it's definitely in the last 20 years, I think, since they did a nice DVD years back, and then they've since done Blu-rays and 4K discs. Like, it's kind of, people are aware of it more.
Yeah,
But, yeah, it's classic. Everyone, if you love horror, see this movie.
I think so for sure. And hopefully, if you have seen, which we will dive into soon, but if you have seen the other ones, you need to go back and watch this one.
You need to, or you will have
100%.
your horror fan card revoked.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
will come to your house. We will strip it from you.
I'll agree with that, actually.
We may put a bag over your face.
This was not the first one I saw, but it's important, and it's important to film history, especially with horror. And it's just good.
Yeah, it's just a good movie.
Yeah.
Just a really good movie.
I think so.
All right.
Well, I guess that wraps up our conversation on this version of Black Christmas, but we'll still be talking about it a little bit when we're talking about the other ones. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to some announcements from the library, and then we'll come back and discuss 2006 and 2019. Yes, 2006 and 2019, and also just compare it to that 1974 one.
Yep.
Hi, everyone, and happy holidays from all of us in Youth Services. This is Kendall, and I'm here to bring you an update about our December events. We will continue to have story times as usual on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Through December 14th. We are taking the last 2 weeks of the month off due to the holidays. But on Tuesdays, we'll have Spanish story time on the 5th and the 12th at 10:30. And on Thursdays, the 7th and the 14th, we'll have Words and Wiggles at 10:30. We will also have a couple of teen programs in the month. On the 6th, we will be showing the movie Home Alone, starting at 3:30 after school in Auditorium A for all of those students in grades 6 through 12. And on December 13th, we will be having a holiday party for all of our teenagers, also starting at 3:30 after school. And finally, we would like to announce our Bluey's Down Under Christmas party. This will be happening on Saturday, December the 16th, starting at noon. And we invite you to come here to the library to meet with Santa, as well as Bluey and Bingo, enjoy some pizza, some stories, and a good time before we kind of shut down our programming for a few weeks for the holidays. So we hope to see you then. And follow us on Facebook for more information about upcoming youth events. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Toby.
All right. Hi, everyone. In this December, we have just a few programs for adults. Similarly, the last week of December and the first week of January, we don't have a whole lot going on. On December 11th, we will have the last book club for this year, and it's going to be about Elizabeth Acevedo's family lore. So depending on when you're hearing this, you might have time to stop in and pick that up. Book club will be starting again in the new year, but it will be under a different name, so keep your eyes peeled for that, and a couple new programming changes we have starting in the new year for adult programs. On December 14th at 4 p.m., we will have a Learn to Crochet Basics class where we will be learning about how to crochet granny squares. You'll be learning from me and another staff member here, Miss Casey, as we will teach you some very basic crocheting that can then be turned into larger projects very easily. So come on in and check that out if that's ever something you've had interest in. And then on December 18th, we will have a trivia night. So put on your thinking caps and come on in and for a general trivia session and try to win a prize. All right. That's about it. And so we're going to turn the program back over to the real opposites.
All right, so we're back from the library announcements, and I guess we're just going to go ahead and jump into talking about the other two. So we discussed the original, the 1974, and what I think should be basically a classic. I think it's important in horror history. So now there were two remakes. So there was the 2006, which is the first Black Christmas I saw.
Yeah.
And then there is a 2019, which I had not seen.
Yeah. And we will not dignify those by reading the back covers.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. So I will say, and this goes to me liking weird, stupid movies and, different things like that. I don't mind either of them as a movie on their own, but I don't think they should be Black Christmas. Now, at least I do think 2006 ties into Black Christmas more, the original. Yeah, it does pull from it more. There's even a murder that happens with the same weapon in 2006 and 1974, and it's a little glass unicorn.
2006 definitely tells the story of...
It does. I did like that we got a little bit of a backstory, but it also kind of gave too much of a backstory. I didn't need to know everything.
Yeah, there's way too, It's the exact opposite of everything that makes the original so great.
Right.
And I'm disappointed because I hadn't seen this one. I hadn't seen either of these. And because I was like, ooh, Black Christmas remake. It's generally most horror remakes are
Right,
ew.
exactly.
But Glenn Morgan
Mm-hmm.
wrote and directed this, and he wrote a bunch of X-Files episodes. He's also one of the guys that started the Final Destination
Oh, okay.
series. So it's like, oh, okay, maybe this will be interesting.
That's how they got Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, she was working on Final Destination 3. I think that just got my hopes up to be like, oh, that was let down pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because it's just like everything, like the suspense, whatever, like subtlety or nuance in the original film,
It's not there.
it's just
Yeah.
And I mean, there's certain parts of this, like if it wasn't Black Christmas, if this was Black Easter or something.
Or, I mean,
I
even
don't
if it was Christmas but a different name,
Yeah,
like it
it-
wasn't tied back.
I would have been like, okay, whatever, it's tolerable.
Mhm.
It's still not like my cup of tea. Like it's just like going. This is like the like freshman in high school
Yeah.
who's trying to go super hard, trying
And
to impress everyone else. Like, look at me, I've got the coolest kills.
Yeah.
I got the most gore.
Yeah.
Right.
But the 2006 one, that's what I remembered liking when I saw it in 2006 were the kills, because although I love the suspense an off-screen kill gives, I also like the gore and the blood, but watching it back, like it did feel like that. It was like there were, granted, I still think some of them were cool or whatever, but there were some of them that were just like, you were trying.
It's going way too hard. Like
You were going hard.
picking her eye out and
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh,
Although I
yeah.
kind of liked that. I kind of liked the
It's
eyes.
just like,
but-
I mean, it started and I was like, oh.
It's
Yeah.
too
Really?
much for this series. Like, it's,
Yeah, it doesn't need
like,
to be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd see that, like, that would be something out of, like, a trauma movie.
Right.
Or, like, a Rob Zombie movie. It doesn't really feel like something out of a Black Christmas remake.
See, and that's what I'm saying. I think with both of these, because like I said, I didn't hate either one as a movie itself.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen the original Black Christmas, I mean, like I said, at least 2006 did pull some stuff. I loved that they had the same weapon. I thought that was really cool. It was just a neat little detail.
It at least feels like a remake.
Right. A bad
of
one.
the original. Yeah,
but a
a
remake.
bad one, but it feels like a remake. It feels like they're, like it's kind of like routine, like, oh, we'll give the killer more backstory.
Right.
And I mean, like, there's a certain part of me that, like, I appreciate how effed up the backstory is.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty messed up for,
It is.
for a studio film. So I'm like, okay. I mean, they went there. I don't know if they needed to, but they went there. And it just kind of turns it into something that it's just not Black Christmas. But then I don't know really what else you do aside from just kind of remake the first film beat by beat.
Straight. Yeah.
I do think, I mean, I guess 2006 at least earns the name by building on the story that the original one had.
Yeah.
Like I said, I do think they built too much on it. Now, as dark as they went, I love it.
Yeah, but I'd
I
watch
felt-
that movie. I'd like it didn't need to be part of this movie.
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think if it was just like, maybe 20% of the movie, I felt like it was 50%
It's
of the
a
movie
lot of the
or
movie.
more.
is
And
the
and it also
backstory.
left less time for you to get acquainted with the current
Yeah,
people.
and they just-
you didn't care when they died.
And as good as the cast is, like, there's good.
That's the other thing. I
Like
love
the ensemble of the girls is pretty terrific. You got Katie Cassidy, Michelle Trachtenberg, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Lacey Chabert. I mean, they're pretty good actresses,
Yeah.
especially Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She's
Mhm.
great. And they're really just
felt like a waste of a cast.
they're just slabs of meat. Like, and whatever kind of like interplay they have just feels like tacked on.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's what I say. I feel like it was because they dived too much into the backstory.
yeah.
It left less time for you to. I don't need to know as much about the guy. I
don't
love
need to-
the darkness of the story, but give it to me real quick.
Yeah, I mean, to give it to me like in something like I don't think you've seen Silent Night, Deadly Night, have you?
The no.
Okay. Well, I mean, they kind of do whatever. Like, they just have like an opening. And it's like
Right.
the first 5 or 10 minutes
Garbage dude.
is like why he is the way he is,
Exactly.
and then boom, you're done.
And
Like,
that's
set
what I
it
was gonna
all-
say.
yeah, just get it out of the way, and then we can get to the girls,
Right.
the sorority house, and you can just
And then you
remake
go
Black
on with the
Christmas.
movie.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, this is a weird comparison, but Hocus Pocus does that. It opens
Yeah.
with her, like somebody telling the story of the back.
Yeah.
and then the back is out, and then you go on with the movie.
Yeah.
And that could have easily been this, because that's kind of how they're learning about it, is through like the house mother or whatever's talking about it. The first 5 minutes could have been her telling the story, and then on to the movie where you
Yeah, it
do
doesn't
care about the characters.
I mean, like if you're intercutting timelines, it needs to be something that informs the present timeline. Like
Yeah.
the back needs to otherwise it's just you're just trying to show off that you can edit timelines. And it just doesn't work here. And I like like the 2019 is definitely like a response to this one almost,
Mhm.
because this one goes so hard with the gore and violence that, and the 2019 one's like PG-13
Yeah, for sure.
is really like unbearably like
Bland.
I know they want to try to say something, but they have no idea how to say what they want to say,
Mhm.
and they're like just beating you over the head with this crap.
Yeah.
And then even in that one, it's like it's not even Black Christmas. It's some weird ass cult.
That's what I was going to
something,
say.
and I'm just like, what is this?
That one, if it was not called Black Christmas, I wouldn't mind that movie. I liked it as a movie on its own. Now, I agree, it was trying to say something, and I love what it was trying to say, but it did it in the completely wrong way. Like you said, it's beating you over the head with it. It's that stupid, like, super in your face,
It's
even the beyond what I like in my face.
It's like they had like Twitter write the script.
Yeah.
I feel like that
Yeah.
could have been like, yeah, they could have just named it Sorority Row again, like they did
Or-
the
yeah,
horrible
something,
movie
whatever.
in 2009.
Because it was more about multiple sororities. It wasn't even about one house.
Yeah, and there's no like single killer.
No,
There's
it had nothing to do with the
I don't
original.
remember. I mean, it's a couple weeks ago. Is there even anything with like the attic? Is someone in the attic?
I mean, there might have been a body put in the attic, yeah.
Okay.
But
I mean, I was watching.
no,
it.
there was nobody in the attic.
Yeah, and it's just like, why does this exist?
Yeah. Like I
in
said,
this form?
personally, I thought the movie was fine. I would watch it, but I don't think it, which I like Blumhouse. Sometimes Blumhouse stuff is just ridiculous, like this one was, but I usually like their movies. But so I wasn't surprised that I didn't hate the movie,
Yeah.
but it's not Black Christmas.
Well, they also made
100%
it
not.
a PG-13 movie
True.
instead of an R-rated movie. There was an R-rated version.
Yeah.
But
I think had they renamed it, it might have even done better because people were looking for Black Christmas.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to catch on to people that don't even know what Black Christmas is,
Right.
and I think that's kind of treating your audience like they're ignorant.
Yeah.
But just beyond that, like it's so
There, like I said, there was some,
obnoxiously preachy.
Yeah.
It just goes so far to be like, I want to go the opposite.
It's like shoving
way.
it down your throat.
Yeah,
kind
and
of
it's just
thing.
like
and
it-
nobody
like-
likes. Well,
Like
I don't like that.
you're a horror movie.
right.
Know your lane.
Another thing I think with this one, like I said, I think the name probably ruined it for a lot of people. But also, they did receive backlash, and I read this and I went back and watched the trailer. The trailer is the movie. It's one of those that we were talking about, where you have the original Black Christmas in 1974 with that great read on the back of the VHS that pulls you in without telling you what it is. Then you go watch this trailer for this Black Christmas of 2019, and it's exactly everything that is in the movie. Like, you see most of the kills, you see what's going on. I think that and being named Black Christmas and trying to pull from the history
Yeah.
without including any of the history or the same movie at all is what really did it, because
I mean-
this film has the 28th lowest opening
about to
weekend
say.
gross
Yeah.
ever, only pulling a $1.8 million.
That is abysmal.
Yeah.
For like a horror film that is like a known quantity.
Right. I mean, this was Universal Studios and Blumhouse together.
I mean, and it was a rushed production. It was only 5 months from beginning to release,
Oh, wow.
which is very short,
That's a
even
lot.
for like a low budget horror movie.
Yeah.
And you can feel that. Like, I mean, it kind of feels like they almost went in without a finished script.
Yeah.
Almost went in without a finished script. Yeah. And like it just, like I remember watching it and I'm like, I don't remember any cult stuff in the original.
No,
And then
there's
it just
not.
like, and then it just go full on at the end with
Yeah.
like this whole ceremony and
Right.
I was
And that's
like,
what I said. I don't mind that. I like cultish stuff. So I liked the movie premise,
yeah.
but it wasn't a Black Christmas premise. Like, it shouldn't. it is considered a sequel or a remake, actually,
Yeah.
of the. This is not a remake of the original. This is a whole new story.
No, and I mean it really just feels like any random movie on Netflix.
Right.
Like it has no real.
And some of those are good. And like I said, I don't mind this one,
Yeah.
but it's not what it tries to be.
It also feels like they're trying to tell a story here about like consent and
Oh,
like,
100%.
yeah, and it's like
but it's too preachy
this
and
is-
done.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like this is not the movie in which to do like.
I don't know. I mean, I think, like I was saying earlier, I think horror has its lane where it does.
Right, it
It has a voice, but
yeah, but you have to.
you have to do it.
But you can't just beat your audience over the head with this stuff. And
Right.
and even if you're like, I'm sure they thought like it feels like some kid wrote this and he was like, I'm going to be really clever.
Yeah.
And it just. It's like the opposite way of how hard they went with the gore. They're like,
Right.
we're going to be really topical and relevant.
Exactly.
But I mean, Olivia Hussey in the original movie, like when Peter is kind of berating her about having the baby and stuff,
Yeah.
and she's just like, it's my body, I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Right.
Like that is more progressive than anything in this film.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like it's more like gets to the heart of what, bodily autonomy and women's rights
Choice.
than anything in this piece of crap.
Right, that's my point. It's like that's the way to have
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a topical subplot, not just
Exactly.
like
Take
not,
over the whole
not
film.
a weird Christmas song performance that's done for frat boys.
Although I thought
in
that
the
was funny. I'm
middle
not going to
of-
lie. I like that.
It is funny, but it's also like.
But see,
like,
in my
it's
opinion, I
cringy.
think if they would have taken, her salt and then they did the funny-ish, like, girl power song at that, and that's where it was
Yeah.
left. Like,
Right, but,
that's
like-
all they did with that.
Yeah.
Then, okay, now they're getting back. Like, okay.
Part of me is like, if I was in the audience and like I'm just me, and I'm like, wait, are they calling me a rapist?
Right.
You know,
I think that moment wasn't what they meant it to be, but I mean, I enjoyed
Well,
that.
like
I'm not
that's
gonna
the
lie.
thing is like why like I get like wanting to like
They're just
you know,
obnoxious.
call out the guys
All the
that like
characters.
did this or whatever.
are.
But
and
like
call out the guys that did this. Go to a writer at a newspaper or something, and like,
Yeah.
that's
don't just
that's kind of my point. Is it's like why are you like entertaining these bozos when they're the ones that
Right.
have done this
Yeah.
to you? Like why are we still interacting with these men?
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I get it. But I could see a sorority doing something like that. And like I said, I liked that part. But I think with every other part, it was just too much.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it was the storyline was she was assaulted, they did this as a, F you to the big event that this place
Yeah,
holds
yeah.
on. And then they go on with the cult stuff.
yeah.
Leave that in the past. And also don't name it Black Christmas.
Well, then there's also like a little side thing where one of her friends is basically like, I mean, I know this bad thing happened to you, but you have to get over it and stop like shrinking
Right.
because it's like we're less than a year out for like this
terrible
happening.
advice.
Like that's
but
like really undercuts the story you're trying to tell here.
right, but at that same time, I do think it shows a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
no, yeah.
It's also
I've
like
personally known things that have happened and people be like that. Less than a year out.
right, but it's not portrayed in a this is a bad thing to say kind of
Right.
way. It's portrayed as in like a pull yourself up by your bootstraps, girl. Like you'll
Right.
be
They are trying to do it as a woman empowerment type thing.
Yes, like
And I'm
no.
all for, the woman empowerment and all of that. And like I said, I love what they wanted to
Right, but
say.
this is woman empowerment written by a man.
but they
it's written
didn't.
by a woman.
Is it written by a woman?
Yeah, it's written by the
okay, well,
director.
it's written with internalized misogyny.
Yeah, I don't know
Like-
what
I
her.
mean, that's
she's
what I'm
got
saying,
some
like-
issues, girl. You need to go to
Like-
therapy.
I like what they wanted to say. They just didn't.
Yeah.
Or they just
Well, I feel like
did
they're, like-
bashed over
So
your
this
head.
is coming out not like or was written, probably about a year and a half into like the Me Too
That's true.
movement. So I feel like they were just like, oh, this is really topical. This is really
Yeah.
like,
But they did it too
Present.
much.
yeah, and it's just like that's not. Then write a movie like. What's it called? She Said, where it's actually talking. It's like the two. It's like kind of All the President's Men, but it's the two women who uncovered the Weinstein.
Right.
All that.
Fiasco.
Yeah, all
If
the
you're gonna
assaults
do
and
it,
everything.
don't fumble it.
Yeah, don't fumble it in some
Like-
horror remake of an iconic film. Just make your own little crappy horror film and
Right.
put it in there.
And that's exactly what I said about this. As a horror film itself and just a stupid little horror film, I enjoyed it. I liked it. But it had nothing to do with the original. It pulled in that where they were trying to do all that social stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other half isn't anything about the old movie either. And I just think, I don't know. I can't believe that we still refer to this one as a remake of the original.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand that whatsoever. It's not.
Our similarities are they're sorority girls being murdered on Christmas,
Right,
and
pretty
like
much.
which
Right.
I guess is similar, but like if we're doing it by that proxy, it's just as similar as like I said, like Sorority Row, which
Yeah.
was like 9 years before this.
And
like,
see, I think, like, and that's the thing is, if this movie had a completely different name and I watched it, I wouldn't be like, oh man, they're trying to rip off the original Black Christmas. Because
No.
they don't at all.
No, aside from the sorority house and the Christmas setting.
Yeah, and I'm fine with another movie having that. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's not every movie's a remake of Halloween,
Right.
even if
Just
you got
'cause
a
it's a
guy with
Halloween.
a guy in a mask.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't mean it's.
But that's what I say. Like, this one's so far off that with a different name, you couldn't even be like, oh, it's doing too much.
It really
ripping
caught
off.
me way off guard when I started watching it. I was like, okay, I guess, okay, this is Black Christmas, Black Christmas, wait, cult? What?
Yeah.
yeah, like,
I was-
what's going on?
Like, what? I felt like I was just in a different movie.
It was a different, 100% different
And I
movie.
just felt really bad for Imogen Poots.
Yeah, who's really good.
She's
but not
she's
this.
a really good actress. And I was like, especially towards the end when they have all the cult stuff and she's like really like upset and crying and all this
Is she
stuff.
the main girl?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's really the
Why
only.
do I not?
the
Oh,
only-
I'm looking at the wrong
aside,
list.
aside from Carrie Ells, she's the only person I recognize for anything. But she's really great.
Yeah, I thought she was great in it.
I mean, she's great and everything. I just felt bad for her because like you wasted 2 months filming this piece
Yeah.
of crap when you could have been making something good.
Yeah.
Because she's great. And like I remember her in 28 Weeks Later.
Mm-hmm.
She's really that's a great movie. I like that more than the original. And she's got like a little bit part in B for Vendetta and the Fright Night remake.
Oh, okay.
Did we do Fright Night on the?
Mm-mm.
Ooh,
I've
Yeah.
not seen it.
ooh, we're gonna.
We should do that in a remake. The remake is
Yeah, the remake's actually not bad on that
Oh,
one.
okay. That'd be
Um,
fun.
That's very different, but I like it.
And like I said, I mean, and we always mostly disagree on movies anyways. The 1974 classic has a definite piece of history as far as horror is concerned. 2006, I enjoyed it. I saw it when it came out, and at my age in 2006, like, I liked it. There was blood, there was
get
gore,
that.
there was ripping out eyeballs. Going back and watching it now, I see where it failed as a movie in general, because when I did watch these movies, that was the first one I watched again.
Yeah.
And even then, I could see like, whoa, there too much of this, too much story. And that's before I saw the 1974 one. I just, looked at the movie in a different light. And that's probably from talking about movies for 2 years now. And then I got to the 2019 is the last one I watched. And
Had you seen that one before?
the 2019? No.
You hadn't
The only
seen
one I
that
had
one?
seen is 2006.
Okay.
So when I got to the 2019, I'd already seen the 2006 one, which I think is better as far as being a Black Christmas movie.
I'll still take that one.
But I mean, I enjoyed all three movies.
Yeah.
But 2019 is not a Black Christmas movie. It doesn't earn to even be called a remake. That just it blows my mind that that's even considered a remake. But like as a little dumb movie, it was all right. It did have too much of the beating everyone over the head with a certain thing. But
Even if it wasn't called Black Christmas, I'd still hate it.
That's kind of more to the point.
I could see how you would hate it. But I'm saying as a
Yeah.
movie that I would
It would be less offensive
yeah.
being called like not being
Exactly.
a remake of a seminal film.
And I enjoyed it. I don't think it's a movie I'd ever watch again. But I enjoyed it the first time.
you will
ish.
have to pay me money. to
Yeah.
watch that again.
That's the thing is I don't know. I don't know the problem with its political statements. It's like, what is the statement you're making? Because like, is Chris the one that you're like? Riley is clearly the final girl, but like she's being driven on by like Chris, who is saying some real problematic things.
Yeah.
And it's like it's great to be angry, but that's like also not how everyone deals with their trauma. Like not everyone just
Gets over
gets
it.
mad and gets over it. Like,
Exactly.
and you're not really giving Riley time to deal with this. I'm like, that's kind of, I don't know. Yes, she made me mad. I was like,
I was just confused most of the
Yeah.
time.
yeah, I was like, I don't.
It's like, oh, Carrie Ells. It's like, oh yeah.
this is going back to the original, but
Yeah.
I meant to say this earlier. But like I said, the first thing I noticed when Bob Clark's name came up, I knew it because of Christmas Story. There were a couple shots in that movie that remind me of Christmas Story even. The
Really?
end
Which
shot
ones?
where they're like pulling away from the house and it's,
Yeah,
got snow
I
on
can
it
see
and then
that.
the words come up. It's like the ending of Christmas Story. And I thought that was really cool, even though they're totally different movies.
Yeah.
That like the ending gave me that same kind of feeling in
He
a
likes
way.
this shot.
Yeah.
I like yeah, for me, so I was gonna say we were talking outside. I was like, I have a statement about like so the 2006 and the way that it focuses in on the killer too much. It just that gives me like I feel like for me that took me way out. Like while it's nice to know a little bit about the killer
Yeah.
or whatever. I also don't need to. Like I'm okay with the killer in a horror movie being the boogeyman. Like
Yeah.
I like
And I think that's what we get in the 1974
Yeah.
one for
and
sure.
I think that focusing the killer, which is something we see a lot with, the movies about serial killers or things like that, gives you too much interest and empathy into like someone who's committing like heinous acts.
Well, I just think, I mean, it's how it's presented.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
presented as very kind of, I mean, exploitive, I guess. And it's not, it's just the tone is all over the place. That it gets to like, why am I seeing this? If you
Right.
want me to have empathy, then construct it in a way that I'm like, I see why he would do this.
Yeah.
Because I think that's fine if that's the movie you're making. Like if you,
Right.
Yeah.
because usually, I mean, most like serial killers are like something happens to them.
Right.
Like
There
there's
is a
some,
backstory to most of them.
yeah, but I mean, this one just goes so far
Yeah.
overboard into like just being not even just like the graphic nature, but just like it's almost comical how much stuff
They try to
happens
pack
to
in.
this
Yeah.
kid.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
just like really. I said this when I was watching it, but it felt like the Treehouse of Horror with Bart Simpson in the attic, like the other Bart that they have in the
Oh
attic.
yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what they call him, but that's what it kind of felt like. It was like they're just going really hard into like
Right.
the R-rated version of that,
Yeah.
Yes.
and I don't know. It was just like
That-
it was just like they're just trying to be like, oh, we're gonna shock you.
Yeah.
And it was,
And that's what I said. Like, as far as the backstory, I enjoyed getting the backstory, and I enjoyed how dark it went, and it really showed you. Like, I was fine with all that, but give it to me in 5 minutes,
yeah, it's
not in
way too
half
much
the
of
movie. I don't need all the flashbacks. Give it to me in a story in the first 5 minutes, and then I understand. I feel bad for him a little bit. Now show me how ridiculous he
Or
is.
what you're saying, like do a better job cutting it in a way that like it actually is like, okay, here's what's about to happen. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, here's I'm killing this person this way because it's how my mom killed my life.
I mean, just
you
like
know,
the
give me something with it.
the way they shoot it is just very like in your face, very like
is.
almost like a music video. It's very
yeah.
gaudy and it's not subtle at
And I-
all, and it just.
No.
I just think there was too much of his backstory. I don't need.
Yeah,
Like, I needed to know more about the characters that were being killed off for me to care.
Yeah, and it's like and it's like confusing.
Other than I like
it's
the
very
actors.
confusing. Do you want me to empathize with him or do you want me to empathize with?
Exactly.
At a certain point, I have to take a side, unless you're just really like a really good writer, which they're not in this instance, and you can make me care about both of them
Right.
to where I just don't want any of this to happen. Then do that. But otherwise, I gotta be on somebody's side.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I
That would be,
oh.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It'd be interesting to make like a slasher movie where you're really empathizing with the killer.
So
I
that's the thing. The original made me care about the girls. Neither of the remakes did I care much about them at
No,
all. And
they're just.
That's
ready-
part of it.
And that's what really sucks about the 2019 is the director even cut 30 minutes from the film in order to make it more approachable for 13-year-old girls. And it's like, man, give me a girl I care about.
Yeah.
Like, or I don't know, use your actors to their full ability. Like
Right.
you said, Imogen Poots, like, well, my favorite that she's in is in Green Room.
Oh yeah, Green Room.
I
that's a
really
good one.
love Green Room. Like, these actresses are.
I mean, she could do
probably
Shakespeare, like,
capable-
she's-
Yeah, she's great. Like, she could play a character that you really like and empathize with, but instead we get these, like, really shallow caricatures of women.
And I think a horror movie where you would care about both of them would be great. I think a great example of the writing that you were talking about where you can care about both. Like I said, not a movie, but Last of Us 2, the video game.
Yes.
That game was so emotional for me. because you do care about both characters and they're doing horrible things to each other. And there are parts of it where like you have to beat up the other person as the other person and
Oh.
and vice versa. So you're playing as both of them.
Drama.
And it's just one of those things where you do care about both characters. And I would love to see a horror
Swinging
movie that kind of
wrench
pulls that in.
is the best part. Like that's the first time it really got me. Is
What?
the swinging the wrench, like you're trying to like get information.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like you're beating them to death,
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't have a choice because like this is what progresses the game.
Right,
You're just
exactly.
like, and then I don't know.
Yeah, there was a
That's
part in the
great-
game for me, and I think it was when you were beating up Ellie or you were beating up the other one. I forget. They were fighting.
Yes.
And like you were this person for half of the fight, and then you were this person for the other half.
It's
And
the
I was like,
final fight,
I didn't want to play anymore. I
Yeah.
wanted to quit. I was like, I don't want to beat up either one of these people.
Yeah, or when Ellie goes back out,
Yeah,
and you're like, why?
yeah.
Like, why are we doing this?
But that is a huge tangent from a movie podcast. But just speaking on the writing that we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
about, being able to do that, it's doable.
I mean, I can think of like there's like if you were going to do it in like a very kind of gaudy the way that the 2006 one does. Natural Born Killers does a pretty good job at like making
Okay.
like they do terrible things, but I still like them and I'm still kind of rooting for them. American Psycho does it to a certain extent. Like he's awful,
Yeah.
but he's so charismatic
least
and
he's
That's
funny.
one I still want to
And he's
see.
fascinating.
I have not
He's
seen
funny,
it.
but when he has that breakdown at the end and he's not sure what's real and what's not,
Yeah.
I still like I can empathize with that because I
need
can
to see that.
his mental breakdown, and I just wanted everyone in this movie, in both of these movies, to die.
Yeah.
Horribly. I just hated everyone in the movies.
Yeah.
There was nobody I
And-
was rooting for.
And that's what I say about the 2006. Like, I like a lot of the actresses. I like that they did at least pull from the original. I just think if it was done in a different way, it could have been a good remake or a good follow-up
Yeah.
or whatever. They just dove too much into the story. And I think a backstory is great, but I think that it was the downfall of this because then you didn't have the time to get the other feelings about the current people that's dying. It's just
Yeah.
like death, 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 death.
Yeah, that one's just that's just a wasted cast.
Speaking of movies that say something, because I think the original Black Christmas does a good job with it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Jobs. We should at some point do the 3 movies we did in my women's and gender studies class. I feel like you guys would like
What?
those. It was Teeth, Rosemary's Baby, and American Psycho.
That'd be cool.
I'd like to see American Psycho. I have not seen that.
They're
Have you seen Teeth?
Well, no.
Teeth's okay.
Teeth's
But I
the
never
other
had
two-
a
the other two are
desire to
classics.
see it.
Yeah, those two are great. The other one was Friday the 13th, part 2, but or not Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street, part 2. We're
Yeah.
not gonna watch that. So, but
That could be fun though.
no.
I love that one. I'll have to pick it anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Bob Clark had an eccentric career. Just looking
Yeah.
at his filmography. Wow. So he did Black Christmas first, and then he did both of the Porkies.
Mhm.
Or he did the first.
I went to
They did
a
Porky's.
restaurant not too long ago, and they had a Porky's poster in the women's bathroom, which felt like a really weird choice for me because it's literally a poster of a man spying on women in the bathroom.
That's a choice.
It is.
I was like, I no longer feel comfortable using this bathroom. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
if I
weird.
want to be here.
Wow.
Anyway, continuing.
Uh,
I mean, props for like at least being creative
That's what. That's yeah.
with the placement of the.
Oh,
poster.
with that, I thought we were
mean, that's
talking
at
about
least,
Bob
like,
Clark. Well, that
Kind
too.
of like
Yeah.
a joke. I don't know.
It
but-
was wild. Like, I don't know. Something about it made me wildly uncomfortable.
So he did Porky's and Christmas Story. He did Rhinestone with Dolly Parton and Sylvester Stallone, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
very ill-conceived.
I've never seen it.
And then like he did some other stuff, and then the Baby Geniuses 1 and 2.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Was that like his last movies?
He did Super Babies 2,
Blonde
and
and
then
Blonder.
Blonde and Blonder
And the Karate Dog.
Oh yeah.
with Denise Richards and Pamela Anderson.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
That was his last film in 2008.
It has
Which is- isn't that when he
2.8 out of
passed?
10 stars. Let's just go over that.
Baby Geniuses 2 has
1.5.
Yeah, but anyway, he had quite the eccentric career, but still I mean, he made a couple of genuine classics.
Yeah, I like, speaking of him, I like how the trivia for 2019 Black Christmas has to put in there that Bob Clark was not involved, that he died in 2007. He had produced and directed the original
That's
Black
why
Christmas
he didn't make any more movies then.
and been an executive producer on the remake of Black Christmas. So he
That's-
was involved in the first two. But I love that the trivia is Bob Clark was not involved with this. Yes, we could tell.
Yeah, we could definitely tell.
I mean, we could
And I
barely
mean, the
tell he was
executive-
involved in the 2006
The
one.
executive
Yeah.
producer part is probably just a more of a contractual
Like a nod.
stipulation
Yeah.
than he was like really involved
Right.
with the production.
But like I said, at least 2006 did pull something
hey,
from
at
it.
least 2006 he got a check.
That's true.
So
That is
good
very
on-
true.
Good on him.
Yeah.
I went to the X-Files Museum, had tons of I think it's the only time I've ever taken pictures of a bathroom. But they had like autographs and pictures
Oh, that's
all
cool.
over the walls.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, wow. I'm just spending about 10 minutes in the bathroom just
Yeah.
looking around.
I've done that. You got
Yeah.
because you kind of feel weird because you're just like standing there while people are coming in to use the bathroom. But they put cool
well,
stuff in
this
there.
one was at least like locked, like it was
oh,
one-
okay. I've done it in a public one, and it does
I mean,
make
it's
you feel
public,
weird.
but it's like,
Right.
you can still lock the door.
Single
Yeah,
stall or
no,
whatever.
I've been in like one that has multiple stalls, but they put cool stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like trivia. I think it was like a Ripley's Believe It or Not or
Oh, okay.
Guinness Book of World Records. So one of those kind of places that you go, and there's like stuff you want to read about,
It's one of
but they
those-
put it in the bathroom, so you have to kind of hang out in the
In the bathroom.
bathroom.
There's one of those in Myrtle Beach, I think. Anyway, we both can agree the remakes are pretty awful.
Yeah, I think, like I said, even though I enjoyed them separately and not to like a level that the original is,
Yeah.
but they were unnecessary. I'm glad they at least pulled something from the original for the 2006, but 2019 100% shouldn't even be called a remake. Shouldn't even be involved in the original at all.
I agree.
So, but I do think we definitely agree that the 1974 is great and everyone should see it.
Yeah, if you love horror at all, just watch. You got to watch the original Black Christmas.
Yes.
Even if you just like a good movie or a good. I mean, it's not like it's a slasher movie, but it's like it's more suspense,
It is.
thriller than
Gore and yeah,
kill.
true.
So I think it's essential viewing,
Yes.
both for its historical importance and just because it's a good movie.
Yeah, I agree.
So
All right. So that's Black Christmas episode.
starting off our holiday
Yeah,
month of December.
true. We're going to continue our holiday. We're going to do, I guess, holiday movies
Yeah.
for our December 15th episode.
Mhm.
And what do you have?
Well, I think you mentioned it, and I was shocked because it's true that we're coming up on 2 years of this podcast.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think our first one was either December 31st of
Something- I think so.
2021,
Yes, I believe so.
I think. I'm just like, wow. I'm just thinking, wow, like
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, it's
but
crazy.
it's been, I have not picked my essential Christmas viewing for you. So this year you will be watching Die Hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I have not seen, and is great timing because that guy at the book festival this year came
Oh,
up
yeah.
to me and was like, I don't care what you say. Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. And I was like, my dude, I don't know what you're talking about, but Josh would be really upset.
I will sit there and argue with you how it is a Christmas movie.
So I'm excited to see, because he was like, well, you watch it and you'll see. So I'm excited to see how I agree, whether it's with him or with you, and we'll find out, I guess.
If you're listening to this, come to the library. We'll fight about it.
Right. I did tell him, listen December 15th because we're going to talk about it. So.
Yeah.
And then Bob Clark, talk about
Oh,
him
yeah.
this time. I guess he wasn't involved in the one I'm going to have you watch, but my favorite Christmas movie.
He was dead, so.
Yes. So my favorite Christmas movie is A Christmas Story, which is Bob Clark. But you've already seen that, and it's overdone, which I love the overdone, but it is.
Yeah.
Some people, like you, it's
Like who goes to see that in the theater every year? Like they end up showing it, but
that'd be me. I used to
God.
every year.
I'm not a fan of
Yeah, I'm
Christmas
over
Story,
it.
So, anyways, I love it. So, I am going to have you watch A Christmas Story Christmas, which is not A Christmas Story 2. Christmas Story 2 is horrible. Please do not watch that. Christmas Story Christmas is one that was
with Randy
done.
Quaid.
What is it?
Is Randy Quaid in that?
No, Randy Quaid is the uncle in.
Oh, okay.
That's National Lampoon 2, which is also horrible. But Christmas Story Christmas is one that was released last year. I think we have it here in the library.
Yeah.
But I think it was originally an HBO Max
Yeah, it was
thing.
on Max. And I mean, I will say, I've heard it's pretty good.
Yes.
I've heard it's very like genuine and
it is
heartfelt. So.
It is, and it's definitely a second.
And it has Ralphie from the original.
Yeah. And it is an actual follow-up to the original one. And for me, it has the same feelings and things involved in it. So we'll see what you think about it.
Okay.
But that's going to be my pick.
I am looking forward to it.
So that's going to be our next holiday movie episode. So catch that on December 15th. But until then, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
And this has been The Real Opposites.